connection.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah. Hi guys.
Yeah, I'll try to redial.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we can start. Today we're going to talk about venture capital and private equity. Let me introduce our speakers. And guys, please, it will be fast for the self-introduction. Alex.
Yes, thank you, Manana. My name is Alex Martini Lomanto. I work in technology. Specifically, my main focus is cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And I built quite a few Bitcoin mining facilities in Canada and the US. And now we are currently scaling to multiple facility in upstate New York and building data centers, tier 3 data centers, also upstate New York. So my focus is exclusively technology, and angel investing on the side is probably more my passion than my job.
Okay, Davina.
Hi there, my name is Davina Paul. I wear several hats. One is as one of the co-founders of an angel investment syndicate called Galvanized Capital. We focus on early stage AdTech and MarTech. I'm also acting CFO of a financial app called Zumo, which is in the crypto space, and just looking to get regulation to exchange in fiat as well. I'm also on the board of a charity called Regenerate, which is looking to support businesses who are focusing on profit with purpose.
Okay, great. Kevin.
Thanks, guys. Kevin O'Brien, Managing Director of Rocktree Capital. We're based across North America and Greater China, so offices here in New York, Beijing, and Toronto. We're an early stage investment fund focused on the blockchain space, so we're invested into about 70 different blockchain deals. We also have a legal advisory component to our operations, so a team of multi-jurisdictional blockchain lawyers, so we help structure deals, raise capital, and take projects all the way through the life cycle, so pre, during, and post-listing.
Okay, and Peter, go ahead.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, okay, just got disconnected. My name is Jaewon Peter Chun. I'm actually based in New York and London. So what we just do is investing in small city projects around the world. My company is basically engaged with the smart city master plan around the world. Actually, we're just doing some active projects in 7 different countries at the moment, including here in New York City and London. And currently, we are master planning for Vietnam, like Hanoi capital city, small city projects, where we actually create some kind of vehicles with the venture capitalist and also the private equity fund in it. And each city is actually cost about $1 billion each. It depends on the projects. So there are a couple of cities in Vietnam, for example, almost $8.3 billion US projects. So, and just doing exactly the 2 different things at a time. And one is basically infrastructure, as well as impact fund. At the same time, we startups and tech companies basically is called Tech Centrals, where we are nurturing them at the same time. We investing in them within the year ratio. So that's what I do.
Yes, thank you. And Sasha, Alex.
Right, Manana, I don't know, something is going on with our internet connection. We had a power outage yesterday, talking about Silicon Valley, and once you turn off your internet, you're dead. So I don't know if you can hear me, but it's, I got on my, yeah, I just dialed in from my cell phone right now. Anyways, I've been in Silicon Valley for over 20 years, and I've been an active venture capital investor for over 10 years. And I've worked in emerging markets and locally. And usually we're so used to Silicon Valley being the center and the pioneer of all technology trends. But the one which I'm interested in right now is actually better developed in Europe. I never thought I would say that. But when it comes to impact and investing, that is something that our colleagues in Europe, I think, have discovered faster. But if you go back and look at big foundations like Rockefeller Foundation, Blackstone, they are the ones in the US who have alerted the world to the fact that what we invest in matters, and that's what is shaping our future. So my next fund is devoted to that particular field. Having said that, I do believe that in Silicon Valley, if you look at top technology companies, they all have an enormous impact. So I think eventually today we'll talk about it as well. But I'm thrilled to be a part of this company, and I'm looking forward to an engaging panel.
Interesting. Okay, and my first question, what is your new investment strategy during the COVID? And plus, if you talk about like a new trends, what it should be? Alex, maybe you start. No.
Well, if people don't want to start, I'll be happy to. Or what? Is somebody talking?
Yeah,
Yes.
Alex.
Yeah. Sasha,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I am talking or Alex is talking? Oh, Zoom is driving me nuts. Okay, I'll start and then you guys can pitch in whatever. When it comes to an investment strategy, each fund usually determines it at its inception. And I have survived more than one crisis in Silicon Valley. And looking back, I would see that some behavior has changed, but the basic principles have not. And if we look at talented teams, and we value that in the first place, and then I always say that, and I'll say it again, I think venture capital and investor is a service provider. So to me, the deal is to evaluate a team and know that they would be able to weather all storms, including this one. So in that sense, nothing has changed. We're still looking for great teams. And maybe the size of the check has changed because the funds that have raised like large amounts of money, they would prefer now investing in later stage deals. But if you're an early stage investor the way we are, well, we're very careful now as to how the company spends that money, because there is no end in sight. And if they don't have a game plan, then probably we will pass, even if technology looks interesting. So.
Thank you, Sasha. Alex.
Right. So obviously, like I agree with Sasha. There's no end in sight. The positive view that we have in the blockchain world, I think, is that Bitcoin has proved to be very resilient. So I personally keep writing small angel checks to teams that have a core scientific background, like, and people that they can provide not just the big picture, but also like teams that have a technological core. And so we focus a lot of investing on actually recent PhDs that want to enter like ventures, and like this is like the profile of the things that I personally invest in.
Okay, thank you. Davina, what is you?
I think in terms of strategy right now for us, we're doing more maintenance of our portfolio, making sure what we have in the existing portfolio, has enough runway to keep going. So the rounds we've done over the last 3-4 months, they've all been follow on. So that's been our focus rather than new.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
So we're focused in right now. So obviously, like we just went through a colossal event, and I think like most, everyone took a pause and a breather just to understand what was going on. But yeah, we're actively back engaging with projects and looking at them, specifically into layer 1, layer 2s, guys now that have done diligence themselves into resilience, but we're also really focused in on data liberation and looking at projects now that are entering into the Web3 era, permissioning data and understanding that we're going through another seismic change as well. The internet developed and was funded by advertising dollars from its get-go, you know, from almost days of advertising from the early stages of the internet. And we believe that the future Web3 will also be fueled and funded dramatically through advertising and other e-commerce means. So we're looking for projects right now that are solving for that particular space.
Okay, thank you so much. Peter.
I'd like to maybe share with you guys based on the perspective of small city projects.
Yes,
because this will be an amazing opportunity for us right now, because you know, there are two different sides, like the good side and bad side right now. Here in New York, there's still a lot of people dying here. I think maybe 1.3 million people only infected people in this month. So I think the second wave, third wave is coming at least before the vaccine is coming out. I think the mutation has been evolved so much. I don't think the vaccine is really could be one option. We just maybe return to the normal at the moment. But I think everything is really changed based on the investment and project at the moment. Anchoring one of the major the real estate buildings here in New York City, but since March and everything is really shut down, and the real estate guys, they actually suffer from this one. This will be taking a longer time. So what they actually suggest us into collaborations based on bring the companies out there, not only focusing on the United States, and they're actually focusing on us out there, including the Europe and Asia. And this will be also going based on online. You know, the digital transformation is really definitely faster than we expect before. And I think I just based in London. London is much faster than New York City, but ecosystem New York now is changing a lot. So what we're trying to do is just like a digital twin, you maybe heard that before. So bring up all the data into the small city projects. So there'll be like one, various pieces to support all the programs in small city. That would be one of the projects that the municipality government and the central government could be involved. So we're targeting about 200 companies within this year in New York, London, and targeting on the projects not here in New York and London. Could be maybe they can embrace in Hanoi and Ukraine and Belarus, for example. So we're targeting on the developing countries and for them to be taking the opportunity to chase they never experienced before. So based on that, we are much more collaborating with the Impact Fund and the Infrastructure Fund around the world at the moment.
Thank you. And my next question, what is the next big thing in technology side? And plus, maybe it should be new business models. What do you think? Maybe it's all about artificial intelligence, maybe telehealth, maybe something in VR, or like the new green technologies. What is like the next big thing? Sasha.
Well, we all have a crystal ball 10 years after an event happens. So it's not possible to say what.
Can hear.
I think I got disconnected again. I hate that stuff. Okay, to me, the next big thing would be reliable internet. Okay. Right, I'm joking. Well, because we are in the middle of the pandemics and we really do not know when we'll get out. So I would say the next big thing will be combining our online and offline experience. To say that it will be something as big, whatever. Actually, each decade we have a buzzword. We had the nanotechnology at some point, then people realized, no, there are just nano elements in every industry. Now everybody's talking about an AI, but AI is also something that ever present pretty much in every technology now. So I won't call it an industry, but I personally think that whoever comes up with a way to blend our two worlds now, then it might become really big. So that when we are communicating online, it will be something that it's actually a live presentation. If people watched my favorite series, Star Trek's, well, maybe there'll be those holograms or something else, but we need to have that live exchange. So I think that will be big. I think that digital health, that is something that it's extremely, it will have to be accessible from remote villages, and the quality that we have with the doctor's office, that would be big. Shifts in education, that we're seeing already, because there would be this element again where online will stay, but it will have to have an element of the exchange among the students in the classroom, because they learn from one another. Well, I can continue, but they're just from on top of my head.
Yeah. Well, I think we should ask the question to AI, right? Like everybody has been fascinated by the incredible results. Just GPT 3 just came out. Like I've been playing around for the past couple of weeks, and it's incredible, right? So I think I wish we could just ask the same question to artificial intelligence. What's the next big thing? I think I agree with Sasha. AI permeates every aspect of our life. It's not people don't realize how much right now, but it's coming to the extent that almost overwhelming. And I know that my friends are doing quantum trading, and like all the quants are using. Probably every doctor is going to use it in the next 3, 4, 5 years. So I think that presence is lingering and almost overshadowing everything else. I think space is pretty big. It seems like something that we are underestimate, or we always think it's just so far away. But really, when you look when you measure it in kind of corporate time, 15 years is nothing, 20 years is nothing. And the idea that, for example, I mean, I have a 4-year-old son, but the idea that I can talk to my son and say, in 20 years, you might be able to go to Mars and back safely, it is just so beyond the realm of the everyday.
Yeah, right now they're just selling a one-way ticket. I looked at all those companies, say, you want to go to Mars? Sure, sign up, but there's no return ticket yet.
Well, I don't know if I want to be back. I might be safer over there, like judging what's going on here. But no, on jokes aside, I think this is a convergence of things, and I think obviously being in Bitcoin and in the space, I think that a distributed ledger technology or the new Ethereum has a lot of promising. I think it's something that is incredibly disruptive. It's not clear to me whether or not banking, as we know, will be here in 50 years from now. And so all of these are very much top of mind for us. I think, I don't want to take too much time, but yeah, that's something that
agree, Alex. I completely agree. It sounds like we're both in blockchain space, but to one of the earlier points is that it's really looking for the sweet spot, which is this idea of the convergence stack. So service providers that are combining a myriad of different categories. So there's obviously blockchain, which is a nice foundational layer to order, manage, and bring transparency into a system. There's big data, there's cloud, there's IoT, and you mentioned space. So satellites are just an evolved version of an IoT system, and we're already communicating with them as well. So I think if people come across projects and founders and teams that are thinking in this 360 world and actually developing the technology around it, they're probably going to be really interesting guys to look out for. And they might not have the solution immediately in 6-12 months, but the idea that they're thinking in this direction means that they're pivot proof. And that's really important when you're investing into teams, is understanding that while what they're working on right now is a fantastic idea, what happens when there's a road bump in the road? Are they resilient, and can they actually pivot across this?
Yeah. I like the concept of being pivot proof and the ability to pivot in a world that is so dynamic and ever changing. Every trend has been accelerating so fast, and it's really I feel like in the past 3 months we all been put in a blender, and like just everything just it's not just survival of the fittest, it's survival of the person that is the quickest to adapt, because it's really everything is accelerating incredibly fast.
One huge trend. Sorry, yeah, sir, excuse me.
I was just going to say, I agree with what everybody said around AI and big data, and obviously up and coming blockchain technology. I think the other thing that companies will be looking at a lot more will be purpose and sustainability, because obviously we've all been in lockdown. There's been very little air transportation. We've kind of seen a general uptick in a lot of people's well-being in terms of the environment as well. And there has been a lot of self-reflection, because people have been at home. They've been kind of looking at the jobs they're doing. Is it sustainable? Is it something they enjoy? And I think that will lead to more companies realizing to hire the best talent, they're going to have to focus on sustainability and purpose.
It's very millennial. I don't know if I agree with you, but if Manana, you just give me a secret code, and if I can disagree publicly, I won't.
You can disagree with me. I have no problem with that.
Very aspirational. I love to live in a world where everything is driven by purpose. Who doesn't, right? I recycle my plastic. We all. But the reality is that we live in a world that's driven by profits, and I think it's, especially in the United States, we all talk about renewable energy and invest. And then at the end, look, I see a lot of my fellow blockchain Bitcoin miners. They have no problem using fossil fuel to just make a virtual asset, and we make conscious decision of not doing that, and it's clearly affecting our bottom line. I'm not as competitive as other groups because they make a decision of not being renewable, not using renewable energy, but I feel that most of the decisions are, especially if you're publicly traded, are profit driven. And I know your point, and I wish it was true in an extended. I mean, and maybe England and maybe UK, it's better than the US. I have a very much on a New York.
Hey, Alex, I will give you an example where I agree with you, and I also agree with our previous speaker, because everything has to be about profits. Otherwise, we will not be in the investment world. We will belong to charitable organizations. There is nothing wrong with that. But we are in the business of making money, because if we don't make money, then nobody will invest in my fund going forward. But I'll give you an example with the recycling. I read all the time that whatever we do and we put stuff in that recycling bin, it doesn't exactly goes afterwards and it does what they say they will do, right? Because it's so labor consuming, it's so expensive to actually go and separate this whole thing. When you dump into this, we have a blue bin, right? But that blue bin, for example, if I look at my blue bin, it has newspapers and glass and plastic and whatever. They just dump it somewhere. So if the company comes in and it says, I have a technology for you, recycling plants, that it actually, you will save all kinds of money if you follow my technology, and yes, the plastic will go with plastic and glass will go with glass. So that will be the company solving a big problem, yet making all kinds of money, because this is an enormous business, that recycling thing. So that would be an example how it can be sustainable, yet no, you make money and yet be sustainable. So, but I have not seen that technology yet, I have to say. I'm looking for it though. Oh, you know, another thing, like how many of you are actually recycling those lithium batteries, those, you know, those little guys? Because you know, you cannot throw it in trash. You have to do it separately. I had a survey of my neighbors, and we look in a pretty decent neighborhood. There was one person who would follow instructions and actually collect those little batteries and not throw them in the garbage bin, right? Huge business. Somebody needs to figure it out. But that will be another example how we can make money by actually doing something good.
There's a giant gap between good intentions and when you poll people, everybody's going to say, well, you know, we want to leave the planet in a better way. Like we want to hand it to.
Oh,
Oops.
Oh, no.
what happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay, Peter.
yeah, I think everybody is actually pitching the righteous way and describing what will be actually changing our lives in the future. So one of the things that I'm actually been doing now, because we're just trying to remind that the first iPhone is actually released in the world and back in 2007. It's actually been only 13 years by now. So just like imagine how the level of the innovation actually evolved by now. So we're actually using the X series. So 10 different versions evolved until now. So even 10 years ago, we can think about, okay, what will be the next solutions and technology leading our society and community? There'll be maybe a 3-year plan, 5-year plan. So we're just like looking for the ROIs, like 3 years and 5 years, something like that. But this kind of concept is not really working these days because you never know. So we never anticipated this kind of thing happen, like, the virus. So there is like a priorities for every different reasons, like in city basis and country basis. I think, so one of the top priorities for the Vietnam, for example, we're actually doing right now is the e-mobility systems. So we're talking about blockchain, we're talking about data analytics, we're talking about cybersecurity. Those are concepts all mingled, they're all embedded in those kind of projects. The thing is the level of the solution that the people can feel about, and people can they actually share this kind of solution as service. So the level of the satisfaction will be, we need to think about. Maybe some of the projects and the solutions could be working in this region. And for example, in London, we actually built up the smart city project back in 2014. It's called Cognicity. So trying to make the city as an intelligent city based on AI. So we actually just happened that really just, the certain level, that's fine. And I designed the whole National Smart City Master Plan in South Korea back in 2018, which is about water tech. Because the waters and the rivers and everything. So utilizing those resources and bringing into the kind of the energy platforms. And in terms of the blockchain, we trying to make a new platforms, kind of P2P energy platforms based on the blockchain concept, and also fintech concept in it. And probably here in New York, we are actually targeting on prop tech, because I actually stopped by in my office today. Nobody is there. I mean, even the phase 4 is actually started. I see a lot of people in the streets to dining on the way, but nobody's working inside of the buildings. That's another thing. So how we can make buildings safer, yeah, and also even we're trying to find out the large space in Midtown and Manhattan, but I actually had some meetings with the owners, landlords of the building. They are really sarcastic and dealing with the price and everything. But now they just call me every week, and we are all available right now. So the thing is, the people, feel that they're not safe at the moment. So that's a big loss for those landlords. I think the prop tech, including the blockchain and the cybersecurity and security, healthcare, everything combined, So that's why the tech sandbox model for even the small city or future city, whatever it is, that will be very important point at the moment.
Okay. And my next question, it should be like the short advice for the startups who have like a lot of problems right now and looking for new investment round. What should be like the new strategy for the fundraising, and like the short advice for the startups who have a problem with business model and who looking for new pilot for the businesses.
I would say in the blockchain space, it has come through an era, driven by white papers, and there was, frenzy a number of years ago about projects raising capital based on a white paper proving it or an idea that is being, fleshed out theoretically. What lacks in this particular industry, I believe, is commercialization, go-to-market strategy. That sometimes when projects, they get so wrapped up in getting the product to market that then the handoff into the actual go-to-market team and what the trajectory is 12, 24 months out sometimes isn't as well thought out for these teams. So I'd say when you're pitching into guys, I would for sure obviously highlight your technology team, but show that you have spent time diligently thinking about as best you can what that go-to-market strategy is and how focused you are at delivering it.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I think now with more than ever, what the company, what a team needs to understand, you need to show that whatever you're building, be it a product or a service you offer, has to be needed. It cannot be anymore this general thing, we will make this industry better or we will make this service better. No, you need to show that at the early stage you have enough people who are willing to use your product or your service. Now, you don't need to show that, what we call it, viral growth, in the early stage, but if you can show you have this loyal following and they use your whatever, you're building a game, you're building the next cloud, it doesn't matter. You need to show that it's needed and people are willing to pay money for that, because more than ever, that's important. Having said that, I also will offer this advice. If you're building a product, do not waste your time making it perfect, because by the time you make it perfect, the market will change again. Because what we're seeing, this is this really fluid situation where we're living from day to day, but so you need to build enough so that you can do this famous pivot when time comes. Because if you wait until the perfect time when you can sell it, the market will turn on you. So those will be, I would say, two things to watch for in this current environment.
Yeah, my advice is don't raise money. Right now, this is not a good time. If you can focus on your technology and try to build a community. I think the guys at Compound, they did a great job. If you look at token and the development of a community, I agree with Kevin and Alexandra. You're really make sure that not only you have a product or a token that works, but you understand there are people willing to use it. And I think this is one of the probably like most successful launch I've seen in a couple of years. But I think overall this is not a great time to raise money. So if you can delay, maybe it's not a bad idea just to focus on your technology and just come back maybe in 3 months. But I'm always a little pessimistic, so I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that that the strategy for fundraising is different a little bit, because I've actually witnessed that lots of the market stimulus, the chunk of money is coming from the local governments and central government, and also some international organizations. They're trying to put the money to make the old market sustainable and economy more sustainable. So, for example, I was in Israel for a long time. So, you know, as a startup, to get the money from the government is kind of shameful. Why? They want to actually take the money from private sector. I think, yeah, maybe at this time, everything is really difficult right now to open their wallets for new technologies or something, because everything is not really, you know, uncertain now at the moment. So, but the thing is, combinations, they're like blending up together with their own thing, wallets, but based on the kind of the stimulus market money coming from the public sector. Would be another strategy at the moment, because I already have some kind of proposal from the local governments and you know, the couple of countries at the moment. It's actually a lot of money. That's why we are trying to input those kind of finances into the smart city projects, because they're trying to do something anyway. So for example, in Hanoi smart city, it's $1 billion inside. And about 25%, 30% goes directly to the startups. And the matter is how we just like, you know, choose those companies to be members of the smart city, the builder. So we just go through the core programs for about a year. About 200 companies will be competing each other.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm always nervous when the government decides to invest in startups and technology companies.
I don't like the government money, but yeah.
I still think you need to have a private investor, and if the company can get that grant, then having an investor together you'll figure out how to use it. But whenever the government writes checks, then something like Solyndra happens. I don't know, personal opinion.
Yeah, personally, I don't like the government funds. So that's why the money goes directly into the projects. So where the companies and tech companies, they have an opportunity to get it. So because there's so much involvement from the government to trying to take some control over the companies, right? So which I don't like very much. So the governance and the structure, how to just collaborate between the public sectors and private sectors, that will be much more important in this kind of new agenda.
I think Peter raised a quite an important point, especially in the UK, about government grants and government funds that have been made available to startups. So we've had the Bounce Back Loan and Future Fund. And I think going back to Alex's point about not raising right now, I think what that's allowed early stage businesses to do is it's given them some additional runway. So they haven't had to go out necessarily for big rounds. They've been able to kind of run along BAU without making any big decisions. So I think that has, from a UK perspective, been quite helpful, especially for those businesses that have been able to take advantage of it. And I think also, earlier at the beginning, Kevin made the point of resilience. I think that's a really key issue that founding teams are going to have to think about. At the end of this, they're going to have shown their resilience and how they've got through this event. And I think it's also really important to remember that actually early stage businesses and startups are a really important source of job creation as well, which is why, you know, the government providing those funds has really helped sustain that part of the economy.
For example, like Innovate UK kind of, you know, package. They do a lot.
And also, you know, it's particularly in blockchain, it's this hive mind mentality, utilizing technology to bring together a collective, right? There is still opportunity out there for people to access crowd wealth at a much lower rate per capita. So instead of perhaps always thinking that you need to crack the VC or fund market, there is possibilities for good ideas with solid teams to access capital through crowdfunding. So there's other alternatives always out there. While we're going through a difficult time, there is still people, I believe, that even at a minimum level now are looking to diversify how they're even thinking about their own personal portfolio or financial situation. So I think people are taking off the blinkers in all regards and are open to new concepts and ideas.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And my next question, what's going on with future finance and wealth management? And of course, it's like a huge trend for the impact investment. And of course, it's look like something like the sustainable evolution for the an impact investment as sharing the future. What do you think? What is going on with this niche? Like,
I don't follow your question again. Can you just?
my question.
Can you do it in one sentence? Because I also missed.
Okay.
What is the essence of your question?
No, what is the next big thing or like the future in impact investment and wealth management?
But we spent the whole panel answering that question, I think. That's what we started with. Everything, when you're an active investor, everything you touch has impact. It's just what I think has changed, that instead of saying what we will not invest into, impact funds will specify what we will invest into. But I will answer your question differently. I would encourage companies to, the startups, yes, first of all, you need to decide if you want to take any money. And I agree with Alex, if you can afford not to take money, don't. But there are situations when you absolutely have to raise capital. That is, if you already know what you have, but you just need a leg up or an arm up and just scale. I would encourage companies, at least the ones I'm interested in, to look into the situation where we are in right now. Because some countries have opened up. We in California have been like kind of locked down for almost 5 months now, and the impact it has on a human being is enormous. So I would say the companies that can figure out how to address those issues, so that an adult or a child can still remain a human being and keep those social activities while being isolated, those technologies would be extremely, extremely helpful. And it cannot all be gaming, because that's where I see people are going into, because, as a human being, you still need some time to let go of things and turn your mind off. So these technologies that will help you maintain the level of a social activity while being isolated. And yes, it can have a gaming element, but it needs to actually address mental health. That's what I encourage many companies to look into as a potential, probably a new category that this crisis will develop. Yeah.
So based on that, I companies to providing the PPEs and the medical supply. They already they're making to kind of contract with the for example, like OC test and gloves, and also the some of the other the medical products. I think that is
No, it doesn't work. Okay, Davina, maybe you please go ahead.
I definitely agree with what Alexandra's saying, that connection between people's online and offline work, that creation or the feeling of the creation of some kind of societal benefit in
Because,
society?
still a lot of governors.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Connection between the online and offline is really crucial going forward. It's probably, you know, I think everybody's feeling it, the missing of social connection, you know, they seem to be the real nuggets of what's needed going forward.
Okay, Alex or Kevin.
I totally agree. I think for any business that is sitting on any capital and they're looking to get any kind of marginal better returns than the existing traditional marketplace, decentralized finance is one way to do it. Right now, interest rates can range anywhere, like in this particular point, 2% thereabouts, but at times it does fluctuate upwards to 10, maybe 12%. So think about if you are sitting on some resources and you're not necessarily raising capital right now and you have some cash in the bank, one way to actually make some kind of marginal gains here as you try and come out of this particular crisis is perhaps decentralized finance and accessing and understanding that. So that's depositing. You can also use decentralized finance to actually borrow too, obviously against some collateralization, but there is new models out there for early startups to investigate.
Alex. No, you
Mute.
mute.
Okay. Yes. I don't know about offline and online. I understand. I mean, we all like the Star Trek feature, or like the Star Wars, where, like, all of a sudden hologram comes to life. But I was very bullish on it a few years ago, and we all thought that Magic Leap was gonna be, the company that would revolutionize the way we interact, and then kind of fizzled out. And I really can't remember any other company that I was so excited about and raised so much money, and essentially on this very topic, right, of convergence. And now, where is it, right? I guess it didn't work, but so I don't know about the conversion. I think, and if you also think about this idea that you can migrate education from offline to online, I'm skeptical, maybe because I'm too old, but I still think that the offline and the personal interaction and the one-on-one, or like even the interaction that you can have offline, it's not easily replicated offline. And maybe we'll get to the Star Wars moment where everybody is there virtually, but I think as long as we have to wear these clunky headsets.
Star Trek, not Star Wars. Different.
Yeah.
You need to know your classics.
Sure. Star Trek is great. I'm a big fan. My point is
and
that
teleportation, Alex. Remember teleportation. That's another thing we need. Forget all those airplanes.
If you have a company that does that, I'll put a check. I'll invest. I'll part of the round. But I think you're the way that if you have some idle cash, as Kevin said, yes, decentralized finance, or mine's a Bitcoin. I urge everybody to buy Bitcoin and mine.
No commercials. No, don't buy Bitcoin. No commercials.
No.
It's
advice.
not a professional advice. Don't try this at home.
Okay, Peter, do you want to continue? What's going on with your Wi-Fi? Oh my gosh.
I think it's contagious. I started it, and then it's spreading. You guys watch out.
It went viral, Alexandra. It went viral.
I know, that's what I'm saying. No, that's what we need. It's more like atmosphere. If we say, okay, we'll move everything online, boom, and then turn off your internet. Oh my God. So I need somebody who needs to figure it out. And that is one of the big questions I have. What will happen to a global world? What if, we'll have a Chinese internet, a Russian internet, American internet, whatever.
Which we already have there, right? We kind of essentially we have a 3 different internets at least. But let me ask you a question, Alexandra. So what are you investing on besides the fact that besides the Star Trek? What is the company that like you're excited? Not the sector. Which sector do you like the most right now?
Digital health, for sure. Education. The sustainable way of produce of I would call it ag tech, innovation in agriculture, because I do care about stuff we eat. And so there are technologies. I will give you an example that will figure out how not to put that ugly dye in the meat you see in the supermarket, but ways to actually produce it in the way that it continues to stay fresh. Yeah, those 3 I would say would be the big ones. I wanted to add the recyclables, but have not seen a technology yet that actually will figure out how to recycle properly in the way that you make money. So I would say those 3: ag tech, digital health, health in general, including a big thing is the mental health part of it, and education. Because Alex, I'm with you. I do believe that the education has to happen offline. I'm a big believer in it, but I also am being realistic. At least in California, our schools will not open this fall. And again, coming back to the model of impact investments, families with resources, they have figured out how to do this homeschooling. They're pulling resources because some of them teach at Stanford and Berkeley, some of them do whatever. So they pull those local homeschools and their kids will be okay. Now, if you don't have those resources, and as we saw today, our internet, and we are all well-to-be people, I would imagine. Can you see what will happen to those kids who don't have their fathers and mothers teaching at Stanford? Now, to me, if somebody comes up with a tool that it will be like an offline education, but it will have to be online, unfortunately, at least this fall, that to me would be an attractive technology to look at.
It's great.
And yes, it will be impact.
Yes. And okay, Davina, it's like the same question for you. What is your? Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
It's like the same question for you. What is your favorite? What are you looking for right now?
I mean, it's a bit different for us because we are quite highly focused in ad tech and martech. You look at areas of AI and big data, but our members, that's our key area of focus. I think obviously there's a lot around blockchain with Zumo. Obviously that's critical, and so financial services and any disruption that's going to happen to the traditional banks through cryptocurrencies and blockchain. I think that's the other thing that we're focused on. But apart from that, it's just media and advertising. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Kevin, same question.
Yeah, similar to Davina, like I mentioned at the beginning of our discussion, I think this idea of decentralized trust and looking for opportunities where they're going after any kind of centralization of trust in a system. In ad tech in particular, similar to finance, where banking institutions, central banks, etc., are hoarding and control in a very small group what happens in a macro system. Similar in ad tech, there's like the FANG companies that have grown, and for instance, Amazon only really started coming off the actual early stage of revenue growth and into the stratosphere when it switched into an advertising model. So this idea of advertising funding the next decade or so of where we're headed in as an industry is kind of really important. So I think solution providers that are solving for this particular space might have gains on others.
Peter, are you ready?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm actually using Spectrum. It's so bad today. It's connecting all the time. Anyway, so what my visions for the next big thing? I'm not a big believer of a big thing or small thing.
It was about like the new niche. What are you looking for right now? like the new startups?
Are you asking me? No, I can hear.
No, like the same question, like you asked, like Sasha about niche.
Yeah. No, I think I wrote 2 checks in the past 4 months, and both of them are telehealth or digital health, remote, and incredibly exciting. The personalized medicine. One is a DNA personalized DNA a company that analyzes your DNA to come up with therapies for optimal therapy for your body. Another one is a digital health, like a medical concierge, and this is like clearly, where the industry is going. So I'm very excited about that. And then I'm biased. Everything blockchain related, I confess that I fall into the trap. But those are my big areas that I watch closely.
And how is it blockchain? Blockchain has been around forever. It's
10
just
years.
the
10
method
years.
of recording stuff. It's,
10 years.
10
years. 10 years. Not forever. 10 years. It's very early. Imagine like what you were when you were 10 years old. Like you're very young at 10 years. Any technology needs time to develop. I think
the internet was a white paper, back in the late 60s or so, and it only really commercialized in the early 90s. So
that is very true.
Yeah. So we're only.
But AR, VR still is nowhere where they want it to be. I know when we first heard about this augmented reality, I go, "Ooh, wow, that's the future!" Google Glass, ooh, and I still see all that cumbersome stuff, and it didn't go anywhere. As far as I'm concerned, that didn't take off. I don't think
we never really had a push and pull factor, and I think what's really like the good thing about 2020, if there is any kind of good thing about 2020, I'm not even counting this as a birthday year. I'm still going to be the same age now. But if there is something to come out of it, is this idea that all generations now can actively participate online in some capacity and get comfortable with doing so. So I think now you might see more people open to these new technology and drive some more growth in that. Whereas prior to that, it was like, yeah, I understand there's this online world, but I'm doing quite well in my offline world right now.
Mm-hmm. True, very true.
Okay, guys, so optimistic. Thank you for your time. Thank you for this great panel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manana.
Yeah, see you next time. Leave next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a good day, night, morning, whatever.